Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning. I hope you are having a fabulous Sunday morning. I always laugh when people will contact me and say, "Oh, I love watching your show," and I'm like, "You need to be doing something on Sunday morning. It's 6:30 and at 9. Wow!" So we're glad you joined us, especially for all you morning birds out there. My guest this morning here at Faith in Our Hometown is going to be Jordan Griffith. Jordan is the Advancement Director at Life Choices, and one of the things we're going to be talking a little bit about this morning is what can we do for folks who sometimes wind up in a situation where they might not want to do what they feel or might be feeling forced to do? What can we do for them? And the issue, and it's a tricky issue, and so we're going to just talk a little bit this morning about what can we do to give people options for if they're feeling forced into a situation where they might be contemplating an abortion. What can we do for them? Because that's really what we want to talk about this morning is how can we do that here in our area and what their options are. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. We hope that you'll stick with us. I know the topic's a little controversial, but I hope we're going to do it in a way that is loving and kind and gives people the options they need.
The different bariatric surgical options here at Mercy Joplin includes laparoscopic room-wide gastric bypass, laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy, and laparoscopic lap band placement. In addition, we also offer revisional laparoscopic surgeries for those patients that have had previous bariatric procedures but have had failures. The surgical procedure of choice will vary with different individuals, and so that's why our team will work with the patient on an individual basis to determine which procedure is the best fit for them. All three of the bariatric procedures that we offer here at Mercy Joplin have a long track record of proven safety and efficacy. The best procedure for the individual has to be a decision to be decided between the patient and the physician.
Well, again, welcome back to Faith in Our Hometown. As I mentioned before the break, my guest is Jordan Griffith. Jordan is the Advancement Director over at Life Choices, and it's good to have somebody from your organization back. We've had several behind before, but I'm going to say that you seem to be one of the more pleasant ones that have ever come to join me on the show.
Thank you.
So, yeah. But at any rate, Jordan, we've been, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into our topic for this morning.
Sure. So I'm the Advancement Director at Life Choices, and it's a really fancy title that basically just means I get to share about the opportunities to partner with Life Choices, whether that's through your business or your church or as a family. So I just get to really share the story of who we are.
So who is Life Choices for many? Because some of our viewers may be newer,
Sure.
may never have seen any of the things we've done. So why don't you tell them a little bit about what Life Choices does?
Life Choices is a nonprofit organization serving Joplin and Carthage and the surrounding areas. We've been around about 28 years, and we really are a organization that offers medical services and education to anyone facing a sexual health concern. So that could be an unplanned pregnancy, maybe concern of a sexually transmitted disease, maybe someone that's been sexually exploited. And so we're there to offer them empowering education, but most importantly, medical care for those situations.
Yeah, and you guys, in speaking to any of your former clients, they just talk about the love and care and concern they've received when they walk through the door. And I know that that's what I'm just going to say this out loud. They wouldn't have anybody working at the organization for very long if they did not show that love and care and concern. The fit's got to be right or it never works. And I just say that's why I love your staff, because I think you guys embody just caring for people when they walk in the door. With no judgments, none of those things. It's just like, okay, let's help you. If you're here, you've got a reason for being here, come on in the door. We'll help you out.
Yeah,
and
completely.
I love that. I love that about y'all. So, there's been lots of talk in the area about, because of some of the court rulings and things like that. And I want to get into all the details of all that stuff. But we people are saying, the folks are going to try to open up, an abortion clinic again in Joplin, and it's one of those things that we haven't had for quite some time. And there's some of us, and I'll just go on record. I'm going to take the blame for this one, but there's some of us who really would hope that we don't have a reopening of a clinic here. But I mean, you know, so I know there are people on the other side of the issue that just say, well, you know, that's a right, it is the law, and if they can do that, and if, you know, and I can't argue with that either. I mean, it is right now the law that's allowable, and we've all got to work with whatever side of the issue we're on to try to do what we need to do and think what's going to be best. But one of the things that I think is very, very true is that I've just encountered in my 31 years as a priest folks who've had an abortion that later had regrets, that wish that they could go back and redo that choice. Now, that's not everyone, and I'm not trying to, you know, to pinpoint anyone, and I don't want to, you know, down talk anyone who thinks differently than I do, okay? But what I do want to say is that I want to make sure that we talk enough about what are alternatives, that if people were feeling so pressured, because that's why many people choose to do it, is because of the pressures that come with an unplanned pregnancy. So what are we doing? Because this kind of gets thrown sometimes at us, at me as like one of those pro-life types. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing to take care of? And I want to talk a little bit about that this morning. I want to talk about what other people's options are, so that if they really didn't want to do that, that we would give them enough support so that they didn't have to. How do we do that? So that's why I invited you on the show to talk about some of that stuff, because I think you guys do some good work in that area. And then I'll share a little bit, you know, about some of the things we're doing too. And I know that there are other groups out there that are willing to help as well.
Yeah.
So what do we do? How do we help people enough to where we at least give them enough choices? I mean, and really choices, that if they didn't want to have an abortion, what would, you know, what are we doing? What can we do for them?
Well, Life Choices, we really strongly believe in empowered choice and educated choice. So regardless of what you choose with a pregnancy, whether it's to parent, to place for adoption, or to terminate, none of those are easy choices, and they're all going to come with their challenges. And so we just really want you to be educated when you make your choice, and so that you know that you're making the best choice possible for you. But for someone who doesn't want to terminate and they want to figure out a way to parent and to carry that baby, really the number one thing we found with our clients is they really need support. They need someone in their corner to have their back and say, I'm going to walk through this with you. I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And what's really great is Joplin's a wonderful community that has so many ministries and so many nonprofits and so many just really great people to be able to do that. And so I would say by large, that's the number one thing, is people just need someone to cheer them on and to say, I believe in you, you can do this, I'm going to walk with you in this.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I've had to do that with folks who've walked into my office. Now, I do think, and here's a little bit of I think most of the folks who walk in my office know that I'm going to try to talk them out of terminating. I mean, they've got to know that, or they wouldn't walk in the door. And I get that. And I know that there are people out there that wouldn't fit that demographic and who think that that would be the absolute last thing in the world they'd want. But I think that when we give people the opportunity to know that you know, that, because I can't stop anybody if they come into my office and say, this is what I'm going to go do. I mean, I can't stop them. I can't, you know, I'm not going to lock them up and, you know, throw them in the basement and, you know, throw away the key until for 9 months and they'll have that baby. I mean, I can't, and I wouldn't dream about doing that. I mean, you know, it obviously is an option for them. And if they choose to exercise it, I mean, I'd agree with it. And I may, you know, say, well, you know, but if this isn't what you want to do, I can help you. I can help you.
Absolutely.
And so what specifically, like I say, in that would, you know, tell me some of the stories that some of the women that you dealt with, I mean, in terms of some of that. I mean, just because there's where the real, I mean, I think that when we share those stories and those folks share their experiences, it's always so edifying because they just talk about that this is ultimately, this is what they've wanted, you know, is another option. Give me some help and I can exercise an option.
Absolutely. I love that you ask for stories, because we always say at Life Choices that behind every stat and every number is a story and a face to us. And so the first one that came to mind is this really sweet young couple that's from this area and just adorable. I mean, they just walk in the door and they're really cute, but they were young and they were not planning to be parents, and they found themselves pregnant and they just didn't know what to do. I mean, they were just terrified. And so
and it is terrifying.
It absolutely is.
It's terrifying even for the ones who plan it.
But even, you know, in their really great relationship, neither of them really talked to each other about what the other person was feeling and thinking. And so they have all these assumptions about what my boyfriend thinks or what my girlfriend thinks. And so what we were able to do is sit down with them individually and visit with them both, and then really encourage them to talk to each other. And when they did, they realized they really wanted the same thing, and they both wanted to parent. They just didn't know how or what to do next. And so they got their family rallied around them and got some support systems in place, and we helped them with material goods and with classes and parenting information, and then they chose to parent and they chose to carry that baby to term, and they're super adorable now, and little baby's over a 1-year-old, and they brought him in to see us a few months ago, and curly hair and just super cute, and seeing them flourish as a young family is really the most rewarding thing, to know that when they came in they didn't know their next steps. They didn't even know where to begin, and to see them now a year later, smiles on their faces and so happy and just really growing together as a family.
And again, sometimes it's just giving them the space to talk about what they need to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I'll never forget, you know, a single mom came to me, and and again, she's like, I just want somebody to, like, you know, to coach me through how I'm going to talk to my dad. Okay, she was an older mom, you know, and had never been married, and all of a sudden she again became pregnant, and you know, the father of the baby was nowhere in the picture, and she really didn't, you know, that was not what concerned her. But she went, I need somebody to coach me with how I'm going to talk to my dad.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's do that. Let's pretend.
And that's a
Let's
lot of
pretend
what
I'm
we
your
do.
dad.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we do, is just giving them the space to think it through,
Right.
and to put their emotions out there and sort through them. And so we're never forcing someone to make a choice or to make a decision that they're not comfortable with, but really allowing them to lay all their options before them, to think it through, to process it, to be emotional, and then to feel like they're stepping forward with the best decision possible.
Well, and you know, and that, of course, the best decision possible is going to vary according to you know, whatever the couple is. You know, I mean, they're just, because each life situation and everything is different.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, sometimes we want to pigeonhole everybody in these things that just says, well, all people who wind up in this situation are like this.
Yeah.
And that's just so unfair.
Yeah.
You know.
Completely.
So I just think it's it's kind of unfair. So I, for one, would love if we could, even in our religious community, to remove some of that stigma.
Completely.
You know, that just says, all right, you know, show me a life that isn't messy. Show me a life that isn't messy from time to time. And you know, because if that was a prerequisite for coming to our place, the building would be empty, including the guy who's sitting in the chair that that leads the leads the service. So we got to take that stigma away and just allow people, open up that space for them where they can figure out really what they want to do. And I think that that's really, really important. So you wind up with a couple like that. You help them figure out what they want to do. Then what are you going to do to help them parent?
Yeah, we actually offer multiple sets of parenting classes, primarily 3 different classes, one geared specifically to dads, so helping them learn how to change a diaper and how to feed a bottle and things that they may not know innately on their own, but also 2 sets of classes for them together as a couple, and they can bring guests with them, up to 3 guests with them. And so these are things about prenatal development and delivery and picking a pediatrician and setting boundaries for your toddlers. I mean, really, we try to go the ABCs of parenting as basic as you can make it. And then the reward for that is giving them vouchers for diapers and wipes and material goods. So they can go through 12 plus weeks of classes and gain 12 plus diapers or packs of diapers, which is a huge blessing to a young family that's really trying to get started. And so then we continue to walk through them. If those 12 weeks of classes, if after that they're still not sure, they need more one-on-one time, we continue to meet with them, do what we can, but we have a lot of great opportunities in Joplin, a lot of great organizations. So we like to pair with other organizations as much as possible, and send them to Catholic Charities or send them to different places where they can get more help, more specific needs met that we just don't meet at Life Choices. And so we never want to leave them floundering, but really passing them off well to other great nonprofits or other churches that can walk alongside them.
Well, my guest this morning is Jordan Griffith, who is the Advancement Director for Life Choices here in Joplin. And so we have been talking about, again, what can we do to help people who might wind up wanting to make a choice and not feel trapped. This is Faith in Our Hometown. We're going to be right back after a short break.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us this morning. We're really glad you joined us on this Sunday morning. And again, we're talking about a topic that some people find really difficult, or kind of like uncomfortable, or whatever to do. We're just wading in here and doing it, and I'm thanking you for wading in there with me. Okay, we've been talking about alternatives, that people might have if they feel trapped in a decision or those kinds of things. And again, I really think it's important for us as faith people, to really understand that this is not people who are, sometimes people want to put them in the category, oh, well, they don't go to church, or they don't do these things and all that stuff. And I'm here to tell you, all of our communities, all of our churches, no matter who they are, have got these folks. Yeah. And they're already people we know. They're our brothers and sisters. Yeah. My gosh, sometimes I wonder why, everybody gets so angry or, say, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with those people. And I'm like, they're still your brothers and sisters. They're just in a tight situation. One that, that they probably wouldn't have chosen either, and we wouldn't have chosen it for them. But now how do we help them? So these are our church and community members.
Yeah,
and you were talking a little bit about some of the things that you read recently, some statistics about church going.
Yeah, so there's this really interesting study that came out about a year ago that said that of women that have an abortion, 43% of them, so 4 in 10, a little over 4 in 10, report going to church at least monthly, sometimes more often than that, up to every week. And so that was really eye-opening to me as someone that goes to church, as someone whose father is in ministry, to know that almost half of the women that are having abortions are in our churches on a monthly basis.
Oh, and I think that
they're just sitting, right next to us in the pews, and a large majority of them, only 7% even talked about their pregnancy decision with someone at the church because they were scared of being judged or shamed or embarrassed.
Oh, and I got to tell you, that is just one of the things that, again, that kills me as a pastor. To think that somebody might talk themselves into doing something that I know that they've been against most of their life, and they go and make that choice because of shame or because of fear or because of those things. And I just want to say, for those of you who really think that that's what we would think of you when you came, all right, this is what, here's just always my reaction. Well, I'm sorry you're in that situation, and now what can I do to help you? That's my big thing. I'm really not there to sit there and say, shame on you, and why did you? I don't have an interest in that. Usually, because the tears are starting to come, and I'm like, oh God, let me just love on you. Come on, let's figure out what to do. Yeah. Let's figure out how to deal with this. Let's figure out how to move forward. And really, in using my language, moving forward in faith. Okay, so we've got something now that was confronted us. But folks, really, I would hope that most ministers would be coming along the same way that I'm coming at it, but it's just like, yes, we say things about, there are ways to live your life and ways not to, and we'd rather you do this and not do this, and of course we say all that stuff, and we hold those positions and we hold them strongly. But I would not want anybody not to come to me.
Absolutely, right.
Or even sometimes when I've had to help heal someone after an abortion, when they just said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't want, I just felt I didn't have any choice," and my job then at that point in time is not to yell and scream and say, now, no, am I ever going to say that I thought it was a good choice? Absolutely not. But I'm still going to say, I'm really sorry you felt like you didn't have anywhere else to go. I'm really sorry you didn't feel like you had the other options. Yeah,
we have a lot of really amazing churches in the Joplin area. And so it's heartbreaking to read that, and this isn't women in Joplin in the survey, but it's heartbreaking to read that women would be scared to talk to their fellow churchgoers because of reasons of shame or embarrassment. And so I would love to see a church community that really rises up to walk alongside unwed mothers, unexpected mothers, single moms, not even in the pregnancy, but throughout the child's whole life. And so I would really encourage, church members that if you have a single mom now that has a 16-year-old, walk alongside her and find out what you can do to support her. And then your women that find themselves unexpectedly pregnant are going to see that behavior towards single moms and maybe feel a little bit less shame or embarrassment to come forward and say, hey, I'm in this situation and I need help.
Well, I think that whenever anybody says to a church community, I need help, I think it's not helpful when we say, well, what did you do first before I decided to help you?
Yeah.
when somebody says, I need help, I think we just say,
We just help.
what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I really think, and I know that we sometimes play these things in our head that, oh, I could never do that, or I'm uncomfortable, or I'm scared, and I just think we need to push past some of that. But I think you're right. I mean, the way that that's done, and the way that you set that model out there for everyone, is by walking the walk.
Absolutely.
You
yeah.
gotta live that way, and you gotta let people know that. You know, I mean, again, if all of our church communities are full of imperfect people.
Yeah.
Well, why then we suddenly gonna like just take one form of imperfection and
Right.
and criticize that more than we're gonna do any other form of imperfection?
And I totally understand that people don't feel equipped maybe or knowledgeable to talk to a young woman or a young man even about their pregnancy options. But that's why Life Choices exist. And
Exactly.
so we are always more than happy to answer calls from pastors or church members, or you have a young woman or a young man in your church that needs help, please bring them to our clinic and let us walk through that with you and help educate you and equip you and empower you, because we're just an extension of the church, but we're not there for the lifelong long haul of that person
Right.
or their child. And so to partner them up with area churches is really going to be the best plan for success.
Well, and I know you guys work with so many pastors from the area,
Yeah.
And so many pastors and so many congregations support you. I know, and thanks be to God that you
Absolutely.
guys would sit there and say, no, your pastor's really going to be okay if you go talk to him. You can. You know, we know him. We've worked with him.
Right.
He's had other people. You know, I just think we've got to figure out ways of being so compassionate that people will even forgive us. This is kind of like a kind of a turn of phrase that St. Vincent de Paul used to use, and he used to say when he was teaching his community members and other people to take care of the poor, he says, you got to love them so much that they'll forgive you for having to give them their daily bread.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
good.
And so I think in this context, I think we just got to learn how to love people so well that they'll forgive us for, when they need our help. Because nobody likes to ask for help. I mean,
No, it's
nobody
hard,
does. It
yeah.
is. It's tough. But I think if we don't stand ready to do it, then how can we criticize what they're going to do anyway?
Right.
And I really believe that. How can I sit there and say, I would really, in my belief system, I don't think you should do this, but I'm not going to give you any help.
Right. How do we expect them to make any other choice?
Well, exactly. We're kind of like we're aiding and abetting and actually kind of forcing them into it if we don't act with enough compassion to
Right.
open the doors to help them. Yeah. So what other either stories or other services? What else do you guys do? Because you guys do so much over there.
We do a lot. We're very, very busy all the time. So some of our most exciting things is we meet with young dads, and that's kind of a new thing for us. But if a young man comes in and his girlfriend or his fiance or whoever in his life is pregnant, and he's saying, I know nothing about being a dad. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a good dad. Or maybe I had a great dad, but I don't really know what to do with a baby. We have a guy on staff that's his full-time job, is just visiting with these young men and really mentoring them and encouraging them and helping them to step up into becoming great fathers. Because we really believe that if we can end the fatherhood or the fatherlessness epidemic, that we're going to see a lot of change in our community on a lot of different issues. And so that's an exciting thing. We also do education in the area schools. We educate over 10,000 students a year, not just on sex ed or pregnancy, but really on healthy decision making and goal setting and boundary making and cyber safety and protecting their friends. And so,
And even how to talk to each other, because there's
Right.
just it's not just the having babies that everybody is like scared of and doesn't know what to do, but they don't know
Sure.
how to navigate the relationships all
just
the time.
telling them and educating them on how to have a conversation and how to communicate with each other or communicate with their parents. That's a really hard thing for them to learn. And so we really believe prevention education is what's going to make the biggest difference in the lives of our young people, and really empowering them with good information so that they feel like they can make healthy choices for themselves and not be forced to do this or don't do this because mom said to or the pastor said to, but they know for themselves why they're making these choices.
Well, and I just know that that's so important in all the youth and young adult work that I've done in all these years. It's just kind of like people, they're not going to do something because I told them they
Right.
should or they shouldn't. But they're going to do it because they make the choice.
Yeah.
Because they feel empowered to make the
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, we feel very strongly, and we really believe in our youth, and we believe in the power that they hold, and so we never want to control them, but really just give them good information.
Yeah. Because again, it's their life and they're going to have to live it. I mean, they don't take me along on a date.
Right.
I'm not sitting in the
Right.
backseat going,
Yeah.
That's just not what
Right.
happens. But what I do hope is that I've given them enough tools over the course of time to make whatever choice they really believe they need to make in that situation. And if I've helped them to do that in a way that they feel like was helpful, then I feel like I've had a good day as a minister or as a priest, because I do think that there's so much support that's needed. We in our society, we make people grow up way too fast these days. And in effect, because of the way that it happens in our society, they also wind up with not all the skills that they need. We expect them to be grown up and have all the skills, and sometimes the skills only come later. Even though we made them grow up accordingly.
Yeah.
We got a minute left, Jordan. What would you say? What would you say to any of your listeners about life choices, about the work that you do, about the importance of what everybody in our viewing audience should be doing?
Yeah, I would just really want people to know that at Life Choices, we just love people. We really do. We're just pro people and pro love. And so to take whatever notions that you may assume about us or about our services, and really just, I encourage you to come down to the clinic, get to know us, take a tour of our facilities, and for our churchgoers to really stand up and support young families, to support single parents, and to really help love and embrace and shepherd them in their journeys.
You're going to get a good amen, sister, from me here, okay? Again, my guest this morning, Jordan Griffith from Life Choices, the advancement director there. We are going to be right back after this Mercy Minute, so stick around this morning and don't go away for our wrap-up, okay?
The SANE program, or Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program, is a program established to provide a coordinated, specialized care to patients or women or men who've been the victim of sexual assault.
The SANE program is really designed to be a collaborative community response to sexual assault.
It's really important to make sure that it's not just the report or the forensic, but they get all of the testing that might be needed for their health.
It's also important to know that you don't need to know if you want to press charges or not. We don't get law enforcement involved unless you request it.
I just want to express to the victim that it is never your fault. You always have the right to say no, and that it's your body. So if you say yes one time, it doesn't mean every time.
I think it's important that sexual assault victims remember they've been victims of a crime, and crime victims do not pay for those services.
Well, I'm so glad that you joined us for another Sunday morning on Faith in Our Hometown, and I hope our topic this morning wasn't too scary for you. But, sometimes people feel like, abortion's the only answer because they don't have any other choices. And part of what I hope we accomplish this morning is to say, if you feel like that's what you're going to do, then there's probably nothing I can do to stop you. But what I want to say to everyone who's listening today is that if you wind up in that situation, I believe that there are a lot of people who stand ready to assist you to make sure that you've got other options. Again, my guest this morning, Jordan from Life Choices, and the great work that the people that there do, again, are about helping you to make informed choices and empowered choices. And that's what I think all of our faith communities would want to do as well. It is important that the faith community continue to take care of people, and especially when they wind up in tough situations. That's what we're supposed to do for each other, is to care for each other and not chase each other away. So join us next week for Faith in Our Hometown. We're glad that you joined us this morning. God bless.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.